Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Patricia, for organizing this. It is true, indeed, the idea of having this event in the occasion of my visit here in Japan, the second in a month, in the occasion of the G20 Foreign Ministers meeting, came out of a conversation we had just less than 1 month ago. And we thought that the excellent bilateral relationship we have between the European Union and Japan could have also been deepened and showcased on this very important topic of the role of women and young people in the peace and security work globally. Because we are partners on trade, we're partners on political issues between the European Union and Japan, but we're also partners in society, and we're also partners in the global work we do to advance a peace and security agenda that can be inclusive and properly sustainable, involving fully young people and women. I would like to thank you all for being here, for making this possible, because we're not just to discuss a specific policy or program today, although of course we also need the right policies and programs, and this is why I'm so honored and happy to have with us today some of the key decision makers here in Japan, members of parliament, and Minister Kono that is joining us in a few minutes. But we're here to discuss a global change of mindset embodied by 2 UN Security Council resolutions that are at the heart of the foreign and security policy, for sure of the European Union, and I believe also of Japan. A pretty radical change of mindset. The international community finally accepted collectively that women and youth are not just the object of our policies, the recipients of decisions that are taken by others. And these others are often men and often over 60 years old. Women and young people are agents of change in their lives, in their friendships, in their relationships, in their families, in their communities, in the countries, and also globally. If we don't recognize this, if we don't acknowledge this fact, we condemn our policies and our actions to being ineffective. It is as simple as that. We are here first and foremost because we recognize a fact, a reality in our societies, in our countries, in the 21st century. We have all seen some images that have, I believe, inspired us all. You've seen the images of a Sudanese young woman standing on the top of a car asking for democracy in her country. They called her the Sudanese Statue of Liberty. And I just met the new Prime Minister of Sudan a few weeks ago in Brussels. He honored us with a visit. And that change came about and started from there, from participation, from active participation of a young woman. We all know about the leading role of our sons and daughters in the global movement for climate action. Without them, that key policy issue would probably not be at the forefront of the political landscape globally. Across the world, young people are the majority in many of the societies, and of course, women are half of the global population. In these years, I've had the honor of meeting many of those people that are the leading force behind women, peace and security, and youth, peace and security. I will only mention the former Colombian children soldiers who finally had access to education when the war in their country ended, the Syrian and Yemeni women who are working with the United Nations, with the support of the European Union, to try to build peace and reconciliation in their countries. Because there is no real peace and security without them. Peace deals are usually signed by 2 men, the 2 leaders of the 2 sides at war. Peace might begin with that signature that is a key starting point, but that signature is never enough to build peace on the ground for real. Peace can only grow and stand the test of time if it has deep roots in the societies that have been in conflict. And for this, you need youth and women. Without them, there's no peace. You need the silent majority, and you need the silent majority to become less silent, to engage. Because this majority is not just a victim of war or a hostage, rather, of war, this majority can be the agent of change. And moving from war, conflict, tensions to peace requires deep changes. The most powerful agent of peace and reconciliation in societies are always women and young people. And the same is true to prevent conflicts before they arise. A country will be much less stable if its young people cannot find a decent job or cannot express their ideas freely, if they don't find their place in society. I have always been impressed by my dialogues, for instance, with young generation in some of the Arab countries. And when I ask them, why do you think your people your age, your generation, sometimes are attracted by becoming a foreign fighter in another country or attracted by the Daesh ideology, they often told me it's not just a matter of economy or having a job. It's a matter of having a place in the organigram of society, of being part of something, belonging somewhere. And I think this element of inclusion, of giving a role to play to each and every one of us, is a key component also of preventing violence and conflict. In the same way, violence against women includes many different forms, from economic injustice to social disparities, lack of fair health care, as well as physical, mental, emotional violence against mainly women and girls. And when a society is not just, there can be no sustainable peace either. There are policies that we can put in place to address these imbalances. Policies to give our young people and women the opportunities they deserve and also that our societies need, or to involve women and youth in a peace process. But beyond changing policies, which is essential, we need a change of attitudes, which implies also an individual effort. We need to teach our boys and girls that violence is always wrong, that violence is not a demonstration of strength, but rather the opposite, is always a demonstration of weakness. And those that take violent attitudes, especially against women and girls, are actually showing their weakness. It's simply not cool. I think this should be the message that our young boys in particular should reflect in their behaviors and their relations with their peers. And we need to stop thinking that by opening our decision-making to youth and women, we're doing them a favor. I'm convinced that we're doing a favor to all of us. And in particular, we're doing a favor to our democracies. Because if a democracy is not able to reflect the composition of the population, if the voters are not able to identify themselves in those that are being elected, that is a weakness for our democratic systems. This is the only way to make decision-making really inclusive and also sustainable, I believe. And it's also the only way to really give peace a chance. So we will continue to work with Japan, with all of you, to change our collective attitudes that start with our individual behaviors, and to do it together, and to recognize youth and women as true fundamental agents of change, to support them, not just because they need it, but because the entire society needs that. I thank you very much.